And another thing too I noticed is that many Africans there are jaded about religion. Not Christianity, but like organized religion. So in South Africa, it's a Protestant country. Almost all the people there, Christian people there, they're Protestant Christians. There's not many Catholics. South Africa is almost a perfect example of like the apostasy, like what the apostasy, the consequences of the apostasy. In South Africa, there's so many different churches, so many different little churches. A lot of the Africans there, they're really jaded about them because to them, many of these churches are just a business. And pastors there, like many of the churches in Africa are very corrupt. Let's just say it like that, because many of the people there will be like, oh, all these pastors want is money. You just come in there and they preach, and all they care about is money, and all they teach about is tithing. And the pastors are driving a Mercedes, and eat. That's a common phrase. They eat the money. They just take the money and they eat it. They don't care for the poor. It's a business. So many people, they're still Christian, but they're just jaded when it comes to organized religion. So it's so nice to, when you teach them about the apostasy, many of them immediately see that. Like that's something I almost always said, and that was a guaranteed answer. Like I'd be like, we'd tell them like, oh, you see so many churches here in Africa, and a lot of them are corrupt, and they'd be like, yeah, like it's not tense too much. I don't know, they recognize that there's a lot of churches and a lot of them are bad. You can ask them, why do you think there's so many different churches? And it's so true. It's like they all believe in the Bible, but they interpret it differently. Many of these churches, they kind of have it's called they're syncretic, where they kind of fuse Christianity with traditional African beliefs. So that's another thing you have to recognize, that Africans have this for Africans, their culture is huge. You will hear this phrase, oh, in my culture, a lot. Like Africans just say that, like in my culture we do this, or in our culture this happens. It's because their culture is just this omnipresent kind of thing that just directs their lives. And that culture is kind of seeped into the churches. Africans, there's a lot, I don't want to say emotional people, but oh, I do, like in a good way. Like they're very, like they sing, they have their African songs that they sing. I went to an African funeral. That was an interesting experience. Everyone's singing, and it's very, it's like a community event. Like in the townships on Saturday's like the funeral day. Like whoever died throughout the week, they have the funeral on Saturday, and oftentimes the street will be closed off and the people will rent a tent, and there'll be like a big almost party or celebration of their life. I didn't get to go to a wedding, but in weddings they have a big celebration, and they often have a traditional wedding where they do African dances and African traditional things. Like if they're members of the church, they call it a white wedding, which is like what we would think of as a wedding with the dress and the ring and all that stuff.